Welcome to the final episode of the Eric Geiger Leadership Podcast on succession. We're going to end with some pleasant surprises. So in the previous episode, we talked about challenges. We've given an overview of how succession has worked in the context where I serve and my predecessor, Kenton be sure, serves as well. But on this episode, we're going to talk about the beauty on the other side of the pain. So last episode was, there's some pain. There's some pain involved in leadership. There is no such thing as leadership without pain, and there's no such thing as succession without pain. But if you will hang on and constantly leave your ego beside on the ground and press forward with the health of the church as the number one priority, or the health of the organization or the ministry as the number one priority, you can get to the beauty of the pleasant surprises. And so we're going to end this season talking about some pleasant surprises. 4.5 years in, Ken, we've been doing this for 4.5 years.
So good.
What? That didn't sound very authentic right there. So good.
It is. I'm excited. I'll tell you why I'm excited.
So
no good. No, I'm so excited. You know what? One of the most pleasant surprise of all is that I get to be a part of a new thing, a new day, doing new things I could never have done. So I really do love that. I love where the church is, and I love sitting down and when I talk to you and I get to hear what the church is doing, where it's going, that I don't have to sit on the sidelines off somewhere watching it from a distance. I get to be a part of it, which is like such a great gift. So it makes it worth whatever the pains are. You wouldn't want to miss that. So for me, the biggest surprises have been, I made the transition because I felt like it was time for me to do a new thing. So I wanted to mentor senior pastors. I wanted to continue to teach, and I wanted to bless. And I got to do all of that. And I get to do it at Mariners through Mariners. So I get to teach and take the teaching ministry of Mariners, extend that. I get to mentor senior pastors and got great groups of guys that I get to help them and feel like I get to take a part of all of what I learned at Mariners and what Mariners is learning and extend it and press it into their lives of other churches. So other churches are better because of what we do. And then I get to be a part of your life. You get to invite in, so I get to talk about what the church is. You make me feel like I bring value, which is just beyond imagination. And then I really get to be a part. I don't miss it. Meaning what Mariners is doing now is so exciting. If I was watching from a distance, there would be such a sadness that, wow, I was a part of it. Now nothing. I don't know how you would do it. I don't know how somebody would do it. So whatever pain, those have been.
Well, that's so good to hear.
Those so best surprises. So what about you? What are the big surprises for you?
I knew that I would benefit from your wisdom the first 6 months, the first year. You know, if someone said, how long? I don't know if I'd have said a year, 18 months. I knew I'd want you around longer, but I thought in my head that I wouldn't maybe need your wisdom as much for such a long period of time. I'm just thinking back to the last 5 days. So in the last 5 days, I've had 2 conversations with you that added significant value to me as a leader, and I think both helped our church. So you sit at the 4 p.m. It's our first Saturday night service. You come and you take notes. I knew you were going to do that the first 6 months. I did not. If you had asked me 4 years ago, would he still be doing that 4.5 years in my head, there's no way on a Saturday afternoon that you would come every single week and sit there. And I've never even asked you. You just keep doing it, and I'm so thankful. So that's been a surprise because I feel so supported. But then also, this is so beautiful how you do this. We have a debrief time after a message, so people affirm, the sermon, affirm the worship and testimonies and things that happen in the worship service. If there's any changes that need to happen before the next, we have 4 more services after that, then those are brought up. And so when there's a group, there's like 10, 15 people in the room, you talk to me, everyone's saying things about my message. You in those moments only say positive things about my message. And then when everybody leaves the room, and this isn't every week, but it's some weeks where you'll say, hey man, can I give you one nugget of insight here? And so you affirm me in front of everybody, but when you have either a correction or a consideration, you always do it when it's just you and me. So I guess I've been surprised at how disciplined you've been for 4.5 years to do it that way. I knew any leader would think that's how I have to do it for the first 6 months or for the first year, but that you still treat our relationship with such respect to still act that way 4.5 years later. I did not expect that. And honestly did not expect I would still get such great feedback from you. So
I do give good feedback.
You are so
insightful, brilliant
feedback.
So insightful.
So Saturday night you said, hey, here's one thing you said. I think you should consider saying it this way. And you were right. You gave great feedback. Then on Wednesday, so that was Saturday, then several days later, we had lunch. We have lunch once a month. And in this lunch, you have a list. I typically have a list of notes on my phone. I had one thing I was wrestling with. To be specific, tell the audience what it is. I wanted to share about year-end giving, which our church was super generous, and we had our best year-end giving ever, which was awesome, is awesome. But I also wanted to share about purchasing Mariner Santa Ana, which is a building in a city in Orange County where one of our congregations meets, and we're in the process of purchasing that. And I was bundling that communication together. And I ran it through with you, and you said, Eric, but I love both of those. Both of those are great. Those are two different communications. And so I listened and thought, man, he's right. He's right. I'm muddling those together. So I moved one of the communications up a week and the other back a week, and the answer is better. So the pleasant surprise is I feel comfortable asking you 4.5 years in. You care enough to still tell me, as opposed to, dude, I don't care about this anymore. 4.5 years later, and that the church is still winning. Yeah. So really, the winner from our lunch on Wednesday is the church. The church got better leadership because of you, but the only reason the church got that better leadership from you is because of our relationship.
You know what? Another surprise I just thought of that is I never would have anticipated it is my relationship with your daughters. Your daughters love me.
They do love you.
I've taken them to Israel. We went, where else did we go? Went somewhere else. But traveling with them in the 2/3 world and doing stuff is so fun because I get to be around them. And they're always, I'm a curiosity, I think, to them because It's like, oh, you're the pastor before.
Pastor Kenton. They call you Pastor Kenton.
Yeah, they do. And I love that relationship. And it is, I never would have anticipated it.
They think you are fun, and you are fun.
I am fun.
You actually are more fun on trips than you are
way more fun on trips.
In regular life. Yeah. I'm not saying you're not fun in regular life, but it's fun on steroids on
That's
trips.
Right. Got to. But that was the fun thing, and with Kay too. So just it isn't just our relationship; it's with your family, and I love seeing them at the church. They make a point of talking to me, and they're both very different.
Yep.
But they're very comfortable with me and
they are.
Lori. So that was a surprise.
I had a pleasant surprise for me has been seeing how excited you are when Mariners has a victory in the realm of God answering a prayer or a vision being fulfilled of something we had. I can tell it's not just nodding that you're okay with it. I really can tell you are ecstatic that this new congregation we launched is doing well, or that a new congregation launched in North San Diego County. The enthusiasm that you have around those things has been a surprise for me. It's been more than supportive. You've been excited about it.
And like I said, it's my greatest thrill. I'm not sitting on the sidelines. I'm a part of it. I get to be a part of it, which is what a gift from God. What a gift from you. Who would want to miss it? So, one of the things I would hope somebody that was listening to it as they're thinking about succession someday, people dread it. You shouldn't dread it. I'm having the time of my life.
Great.
Everything about my life. I love talking to you about the church. I love hearing about you got issues and money thing. And I love walking out going, it's not mine anymore. I'm out.
One of the most fun moments is Kenton will come into the office, and if we have a meeting at 1 and he gets there at 12:55 and I'm wrapping up a meeting and he can tell it's intense, he'll be like, "I'm so glad that whatever it is you're meeting about, I don't have to know."
I know. And I don't want to know. And so that's the fun part. But so I love what I did.
Yep.
And I wouldn't want to miss any of it. But I love where I am, and I love what I'm getting to do. And I couldn't do that unless I made the change. Mm-hmm. And then to get to see you and be a part of what you're doing, you can't orchestrate it, couldn't make it happen. I couldn't come in negotiating for that. That's only a gift that you can give. But I have to be the right person because, there's so many things I could have said, so many things I could have done that would have ruined it. And you would have had to go, you'd had to throw me out. You would have had to in a gracious way. And I would have had to walk out. So
I'm so glad we never, here's another thing. We've never even gotten close to that line. Wherever that line is, it's a far, far away from.
Stay way away from.
Yeah, we've stayed far away from that line.
It is. So you got to be willing to suck up whatever it is because nothing. You look at the value of that compared to any little thing. There's nothing. There isn't one decision or anything you've done to me that is that important compared to that, the value of being a part of what's going on. So it's like those are 1 and 2 things compared to a 10-win year. So
I got a couple more that they're coming to my mind. I have been surprised, and this has been pleasant because our relationship's gone so well, at 4.5 years in, how much the healthy transition still matters to our church.
Yeah, I am too.
It still matters 4.5 years later.
It does, when I am shocked by that.
We had an elder transition off, so people serve on our elder board for 4 years at a time. And Chris Morris, who's an awesome elder, love the guy, his wife Catherine, they're amazing. He had we call it a swan song, basically his last charge to the elders as he was rotating off. And he goes around and affirms everybody all in just an awesome way. He looks at me and says, this is, after being his pastor 4.5 years now, he says, I want to affirm you in how you have treated Kenton. Your honoring of him gave a sense to high-level leaders in the church that they could play here and have a part here because you weren't threatened by Kenton. And you not being threatened by Kenton gives permission for other leaders to be strong leaders. Yeah. You honoring Kenton sent a signal about your humility and your integrity. And then he said, and Kenton's relationship with you, people always wondered, would Kenton be able to take his hands off the wheel? Yeah. And that you guys have a great relationship. It's just been so beautiful for our church to see. That's an elder 4.5 years later.
I know. I am shocked. I would say weekly, that might be too much, but it seems like weekly somebody comes up to me that is a leader, and usually a leader in business, and they're just aware of all the dynamics, and they make a thoughtful comment about, I got to tell you how proud I am of the church. So proud of what Eric's doing. So proud of you. However you guys have managed it, whatever's behind, I just love that you're doing it. Thank you. But they make a point of saying thank you. And I would have thought, if you'd asked me, maybe that goes for 6 months.
Right.
But nothing like it is. So,
yeah, what does that say? So for a listener, what's the learning? What's the deeper learning there? Why are people still 4.5 years later valuing a healthy transition so much?
Well, sadly, the brokenness in society, the easy answer would be families are broken, people leave, relationships are expendable. They're used to people treating each other poorly, walking away and saying that's it, and then seeing the destruction.
And then it's almost the C.S. Lewis quote, you know a line's crooked because you know there's a straight line.
Yeah.
So we're not perfect, but we're giving people a picture of a healthy relationship that they so badly want.
They do. And so I think it gives them hope. I think one of the things is, I think people would say, if they could be most honest, churches should do that this way. If anybody should get it right, churches should get it right. And you'd love to say, I don't know the percentages, you'd have a greater sense of what's going on in the country, but it sure doesn't seem like we get it right. And why why I'm so committed to talking about it, working hard, giving up whatever I have to give up, because when it's working, it is probably one of the most powerful things in the greater community. People that don't even go to our church will comment to me and say, "Oh man, I've heard you guys done such a great job."
Wow.
So just the idea of who you are in the community, churches should do this well.
That's great.
And a large church, has a big footprint. They're going to look at it, and if we don't do it right, they're going to go, "Yeah, look at you guys." And
it's little John 13:35. By this, all men will know you're my disciples, by the love that you have for one another. Like, it should be different in the church.
They long for it. So I think that's a reason for it. What do you think? There's
the hunger for health.
Yeah.
The hunger for healthy relationships, seeing a picture of it is maybe the longing of the story of the gospel, longing for there to be unity, longing for the world to be made right, longing for renewal,
Right. Yes.
And so, again, we're not perfect, but giving people a healthy relationship is a gift.
Right.
All right, another pleasant surprise for me. I knew I would always be able to gain wisdom from you in old situations, meaning something you had been through before. But it's a reminder that leadership's transferable. You led for a long time, but you never led through a pandemic.
Nope.
But yet you offered so much wisdom to me leading through a pandemic, even though you had not led through a pandemic. I underestimated, even though I'd spoken about this and even written about this, about how much leadership's transferable. There were a lot of leadership principles because you led during startup years at Mariners Church, you led during transition years from one facility to another, from a name change to a merger. I mean, you led through a lot of seasons. So you had lessons there that had application for current context. I think that's been a pleasant surprise for me, that not only are you available for plays you've run, but even plays you haven't run, because you have wisdom for new plays because of just the leadership muscles of running the old plays.
That's kind of you to say. And I do feel that, because I agree with you. Leadership is transferable, and what you do know. And a lot of what I know, there's very few people that want to know what a pastor knows, which is leading a church, leading a congregation, which is different than business and other things. I mean, many of those principles are transferable, but most of what I know translates to a church.
Another pleasant surprise for me has been, I don't know why this is true. You can probably tell me why you think it's true, because you really are an expert counselor. Why do I not feel threatened when I'm in a meeting that you're leading? So I wondered if I would have to take it, like I'm going to honor him and he's going to be leading this meeting, but secretly I'm going to be wondering why I'm not leading the meeting. But I'm in meetings frequently that you lead. For example, we had a Saturday night, we had a reunion for the bus that we were on in Israel. I didn't say anything in the meeting. You led the entire meeting.
Right.
And
led the whole trip to Israel.
You led the whole trip. I didn't feel threatened. I only played on that trip where you asked me to. I submitted to your leadership that entire trip and completely enjoyed it.
Right.
I enjoyed not being in charge.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, I think it's healthy for you. I mean, one is, I think that shows your strategic nature of, I know where I need to be leading, and I'm going to be all in those moments. And I think if I crowded into a moment like that, that wouldn't be okay with you. And I think I'm smart enough to know where those moments are. So they're not they're just any leadership moments.
Right.
So where I'm leading,
like staff meetings or elder meetings, you're not in those. You're right.
Wouldn't be a part and wouldn't want to. Well, you brought me to a staff meeting to talk about a certain topic.
Yes.
But it's like, this is what I need from you, Kenton. Would you do that? That's totally appropriate. I'm happy to do that. But I think given it, like, okay, we're going to go on a mission trip or do that, or I'm going to Israel. So there's a place that I am leading. I think all great leaders, I think one of the reasons why I was a great leader is I knew how to follow. I worked in a church before I became a senior pastor.
Yes.
I understood what it meant to be a great staff person, and I said, and I was when I worked for someone.
I submit when Tom Rayner, my boss at Lifeway, Rick Blackwood, my boss in Miami, I submitted to them, followed them, busted my.
And there's a joy in it because you're saying, I know what my responsibility is here. I'm going to do that and enjoy it. And then when it is my responsibility to lead, then you're all in. So I think you've got a good sense of what that is. And I think the other thing is I'm super aware and am sensitive to my position. I am what I am. I'm pastor emeritus. I am not the senior pastor. I don't want anybody coming to me about any day-to-day things. I don't want to be involved in those things. And so you can't speak to something you're not going to be in the game for or on the team for. So I'm on the team for these big things with you, but I'm not on the team for anything else, so I shouldn't be talking to it. And I don't want to lead that.
And practically, just for the predecessors who are listening, even though you led that whole Israel meeting, there's multiple times I never asked you to do this. I've never one time had to ask you to do this. You are saying sentences of, hey, I'm so excited about what Eric and I are planning for future Israel trips and what we're going to talk about. You make it clear that we're a team.
Oh, I even worded it, we're saying Eric has decided, and I'm excited, so that they see this is an Eric decision, and I'm happy to join him in it, but it was Eric's decision, not mine.
That's how you do it.
That's
you do
right.
it. You constantly send that signal. There's a book years ago that Max Dupree's a leadership author wrote, and I think it was Leadership Jazz, or maybe it's Leadership as an Art. He had two books, Leadership Jazz and Leadership as an Art. He had a whole chapter called Roving Leadership, where great leaders are at times willing for someone else on the team to lead that meeting or lead that initiative. And it's roving leadership. So someone else on your team carries the ultimate authority for this project or this plan or this initiative that's going to be implemented. That's how I feel with you. There's things that, man, I'm so grateful that you can be the roving leader and lead because of your credibility and your expertise and because of our relationship. So I've not at all struggled, and this has been a pleasant surprise with you leading things. I enjoy you leading things.
Yeah, I think you do. I think there's you are a highly charactered, very trusting person. I mean, I wouldn't want to cross you on trusting because I think once trust is hurt, you go hard. But
you think I go hard when stress is hurt?
Yeah, I think when somebody busts your trust, you go hard. But in that, what I've enjoyed is as I'm around, I have a sense you're trusting me in every conversation, and I want to act trustworthy.
You do.
So that in every conversation, no one ever feels anything less than that. But I'm also mindful that it's a gift that you give, and I don't ever want to presume on it because I think to break that would be super I wouldn't want to be around doing that because I think it would I just don't think you come back from that.
But I don't want to do that to you either. I enjoy the fruit of our relationship so much. I don't want to jeopardize that at all.
You know, it's worth it. All the pain, all the energy, the hard work I think we did on the front end getting ready for it, me getting ready for it, then the hard work that you've done in being in a situation that's challenging, where you're trying to balance, okay, I want to honor the past, but at the same time move forward. All of that is so worth it when you look at where we are today. I'm shocked at the return. I would have loved to believe that the return is as much as it is. It's more than I anticipated, ever wrote down, ever articulated in the community, in the life of the people, in all those things. And where the church is today.
That's so beautiful.
Goodness, where the church is today, it's amazing.
It means so much to me to hear that. I'm so grateful to hear that. I feel the same way. The cost is significantly less than the return and the pleasant surprises and the blessing. You've been listening to the Eric Geiger Leadership Podcast. Thanks for joining us. God bless.